Okay, so where we left off, we had just said, look, if I'm in the end station name column, the first thing I want you to do is make sure that you push the value that's in that column onto my new row, okay? The next thing I want to do is test whether or not end station name contains whether my regular expression matches end station name, or vice versa, if you prefer to think of it that way, right? So what I want to say is if, and this is how we use regular expressions in Python. So I have, this is again the name of the regular expression that I compiled up at the top. And this is a dot match, right? So this is going to be kind of familiar. Actually, hang on a second. Let me make sure of this. Whoops. So yeah, actually much more sensible. It's re.match, right? So again, what library am I going to? I'm going to the regular expression library. I'm using the match recipe there. And I want to say, has West Street, that's my regular expression, match the value that is in a row and a column that's currently in end station name. Now, I'm going to point out here a rule of thumb for programming. And that rule of thumb is that anytime you have to write something twice, you should create a variable for it. So in this case, what I'm going to do is come back up here and I'm going to create a variable called column value. Okay, and I'm just going to say the column value is a row, a call, right? So you see I've written that expression twice in creating this setup. I never want to have to do that. I never want to leave that. And the reason why is because if something changes, I would rather change it in one place than in many places. So if for some reason I need to start testing for something else, I can just change this value in one place and then all of these will be changed, right? You can think of it, and this is actually basically what it is, as passing by reference. So if you think about using Excel cell references, it's a very similar principle. This predates Excel cell references, but the point is the same. I don't want to have the same formula essentially appear in two places. I should just create a cell that has that formula and then refer to it. So now what I'm saying is, hey, if my regular expression matches West Street, as in I find West Street in my regular expression, then what I want to do is I'm going to append, and I'm just going to do it here as a string. I'm just going to say append true. I'll do it in all caps. And what? Well, if it doesn't match, right? So this is just saying, if I find it, this is what you do. If I don't find it, this is what you do, okay? That's our if-else. As we've seen, we don't have to have an else. It's perfectly acceptable not to. But I can't have an else without an if, right? I have to test something in order to say, and this is what you do otherwise. Now, that's gotten us pretty close. The only thing is that we've only told our program what to do in the case of end station name, right? So I've grabbed the value, but I haven't actually done anything with it. I said, oh, add this and add that if we're an end station name. Well, what do I want to do if it's not an end station name? In fact, all I want to do is just append the value, right? So down here, outside of this if statement, right? So this is all the stuff that will happen. Oh, and you can see I got my code collapse there, right? This is all the stuff that will happen, these lines, if we're at end station name. If I'm not at end station name, all I have to do is just stick that value onto new row, because that's all I'm trying to do otherwise. And then finally, I still haven't, right? So now, again, if I look at my code collapse, what I want to say is, hey, once I've done all of that looping through the columns, right? So remember that my citybikereader.field names, that's columns. And I could have written a variable up here that says called column names. That actually would probably be a smart thing to do. Once I've gone through every column and I've added all the values I need to add to my new row copy, right? Down here, and I have to make sure this lines up correctly, right? So it needs to be at the same depth, right? The same tab depth or level as my for, so that I know that it's going to, that this is quote unquote after the for loop, or outside of the for loop is how we tend to phrase this. And now I'm just going to say CSV, I'm going to say, sorry, citybikewriter dot write row, new row. right? So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, look, if we're in the right start station, because I don't want to do it otherwise, create a new row, go through every column in that row, grab the value that appears in that column for the current row, and if we are currently looking at the end station name, first of all, append the end station name to my row. Next, if it matches the regular expression West Street, add another entry with the value true. If it doesn't match, make the value in that column false. And then once you're done with that test, if we're in anything besides end station name, make sure to append that column value too, right? I don't want to lose data here. I'm actually trying to add data. And then finally, once I've been through every single column in that row, then I want to write that row to my output file. And again, this is just going to do that for absolutely every row in the file. After that, nothing else changes because all I really have to do is close my files and, well, let's just say we'll hope for the best. So coming back to my terminal window, remember that I saved a copy of my file, and so I can't just use up because it doesn't have the same file name. So now I'm going to write Python 3 city bike parser, and actually I hit tab there, and what it does is it fills in as much as is unique about that file name and then waits. So I could put .py if I wanted to do my other file, but instead I'm going to start typing regex, and we're going to see what happens. Now, right off the bat, this is making me optimistic, and the reason why is that I'm not getting any errors, right? I'm getting this no news is good news, thinking, 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 and here I am back at my command line prompt. So, moment of truth now is I'm going to look at my file and see if it seems to have done what I expected. Here's my regex file. It certainly looks like it has data in it. That's always a promising place to start. And so far, so good, except for one thing. What happened? Well, end station name is fine, and if you notice, everything else got shifted over. And the reason why is because when I wrote my headers in there, right, I didn't leave space for the header for my new column. So we'll address this in class. It's not a big deal. But hopefully what you're seeing is that once you get going, you can actually do a lot of really powerful data handling with Python very, very quickly using the tools you've already learned.